Hi everyone and welcome back to our channel. Today's topic of discussion is the VLOOKUP formula. Now the VLOOKUP function is a very commonly used function in Excel, and the purpose for it is very simple. You want to look up data for one table using a secondary table, relying on a column in common between the two tables. So if you look at the Venn diagram, you'll see that there's table A and table B, and usually they have a column in common between them that you can use to relate table B to table A or vice versa with. Now you'll see that the VLOOKUP function passes 4 different parameters in it. The first one is the value. Now this is the value from table A that you're trying to look up in table B. And then you've got the second parameter, which is the table. So this is the range of the table itself. And then the third one seems complicated, but it's quite simple, and we'll go through a little bit more in depth in the example. But the third one is the column index. So that's the value you're trying to look up and where it's located in table B. And then the fourth one is the range lookup. So this is to say whether it's an approximate match between the two tables or if it's an exact match. Most commonly you'll use the exact match, which is the false setting. So we'll dive into our example. In here we have 2 different tables as mentioned. The first one is a table that contains 4 columns. So it has book name, author, book release date, and review. And then the second table has book name, author, and copy sold. Now you'll notice that book name and author is already in common between table 1 and table 2, but the additional column here is the copy sold. So we want to bring that column over into table 1. Now the task here is very simple. What you want to do is you want to go VLOOKUP, and then the value you're looking up is the book name. Now I'll go through why you're not using the author in a second, but we'll come back to that. So you're looking up this specific value, 1984, in this list, okay? Now, you don't want to just include this list. You want to include also the value that you're trying to get to. So you'll expand it to include the copies sold as well. So now our range is H6 to J25. Now you want to make sure that that's a fixed value by putting these dollar signs around it. And this is so that when we drag the formula down, it doesn't move with it. So this table stays in a fixed format. And then what you want to do is you want to figure out what the column index number is. Now that's the value that you're trying to look up. So what we're trying to look up here is the copies sold, and that here is column 1, 2, and then 3. So it's the third column in the range column that we're looking up. And then you want an exact match, which is false. And then you just simply hit enter. And you got your formula done in the first one, and then you just want to bring that column down to then look up all the different values. Now, the important thing to note is firstly, in the range that you're looking up, Excel automatically knows to pick up the very first column as the column that you're looking this value into. So if you, for example, if this book name column was actually the second column, you'd want to rearrange the table so that it's the first column. Or if it was the second column and you just want to look up the copy sold, then you just look from I and J between the two. Now the other thing to note is that this first value is NA, but we can simply see that 1984 exists here and it exists here. So why isn't it looking up correctly? The reason for this is the format. So in the very first one, you'll see that it's general, and the general generally means it'll take the number as a number. Whereas here you can see that it's text. And so you need to make sure that the two are the same. So what you can do is you can come in here and simply change this over to convert to number, or there's different ways you can do it. You can copy it out and make it into a text or different options. But as soon as you do that, you'll see that it's looking it up correctly. That 300 million, I think it is. Now, the last point I want to mention is a very simple one, which is why we went with book name rather than author. Now, you can clearly see here that George Orwell is right there, and he's also a little bit further down in the list right over here. Now, what Excel will do is if there's a duplication like this, it will look up, when it's coming to look up in the table, the first match it hits is going to be the one it looks up. So for example, in here, George Orwell is these first 2 values over here. So when it comes to look up for George Orwell over here, it'll take the 300 million. And then when it comes to look for George Orwell over here, it'll also take the 300 million. So let's try that out. If I was to take the author value, that would mean I'm looking up the author out of this table. Again, we need the first column to be the column that you're looking up, which is this one. That's why we're not including this book name column. And again, you want to fix it. And you want to take here, you want to take the second column, not the first column. And then you want to also an exact match. And then if you look it up, and let's drag this formula down. you'll see that George Orwell here appears as a 3 million, and then George Orwell here also appears as a 3 million. So I hope that clarifies a little bit about the VLOOKUPs and a little bit about the issues that you can face, for example, different types of formats, and about duplications and how Excel will handle that. Thank you very much, and I hope I see you next time.